it was time for me to pull the pin, as they say, and leave the military and start a new life. And I wanted something peaceful, something that took me away, helped my mental, stature, my mental health, but also put me in a good space. And that's what this property does. In 2008, Nina and I pulled up at the front gate. We had the boys in the back. We'd taken the childcare in the dark and we'd pick them up in the dark. And we stopped at the gate and I said to Nina, we can't keep doing this. Something's gonna break here. One of us has to stay home. Let's put that plan into action. And she looked at me and she went, well, it's not gonna be me. So I said, oh, all right, well, I'll give it a go. G'day, I'm Mark from Self-Sufficient Me, and in this video, I'm going to show you how your chickens can do the work for you and make compost out of your kitchen scraps. Let's get into it. We've got two boys, Luke and James. Nina, she works still in the medical industry, but she still loves to be in the garden as well. So every spare moment she gets, she's often out there helping me in the garden too. We're in a very happy space at the moment. I was in a parachuting accident. There was a freak accident at the door, or a chain of events that led to me tumbling out of the aircraft uncontrolled, and the line wrapped around my wrist here, and it held on, and as I got sucked out of the aircraft, I whacked against the side of the plane. The injuries to my arm were severe, and I nearly lost it. That is probably the turning point in my life, and it affects me every day. And I do make different choices now, and I do cherish family more and friends more, and in interactions with people more, life more, butterflies in the garden, bees, plants. I appreciate everything so much more, I think, because of that accident. I had a wonderful military career. I did survival courses up in the top end. I worked with Aboriginal communities, and the things that they taught me and the experience I had, it was something that not many people get, and the Army gave me that. I feel like I had a lucky career and a good career and just right, and when I ended up leaving was the right time too. I resigned from the military after 21 years. We dropped down to one income. We had to make hay real quick, and so I started growing as much produce as possible, planting fruit trees frantically, growing as much veg, and that brought the food bill down, which is one of the major costs in a family, especially a growing family, and two boys who eat a lot. It wasn't easy, it was difficult, and we struggled, but it was better. It was better than having enough money. We struggled to pay bills, but we still had a better lifestyle. It wasn't only till later, 3 years later in 2011, and Nina was the one who said, just getting bored with you at every barbecue, explaining the same things over and over, this recipe, how you grew that. Wouldn't it be easier to just refer to a blog post or something, and then they can read it and they've got it in front of them? I mean, that's a good idea, And so I did that, and shortly after I created the YouTube channel, and it started getting some traction, and people were interested in what I was growing and the produce I was creating and things that I was making, and it took off. It probably took me, I reckon, 100 videos before I felt comfortable in front of the camera to a certain degree, and I'm still learning now how to improve my style and my editing, and I'm always striving to learn little bit by little bit. But I do find it really a lot of fun, but I cringe. Even some of my videos a couple of months ago, I still cringe at some of the things, but especially my early stuff. So yeah, it started off as a complimentary thing, something I thought I could do pretty easy. Found out it was really hard, and I just persisted and persisted, and eventually it broke through. So I started the YouTube channel in 2011, and I did this, I toiled for, 5 years or something, before I really did get some traction. And I tried to be a little bit more humorous and less stiff and more myself, and that tended to really work. And then before you know it, I reached a million subscribers. It's just surreal. How could my channel, Mark in the Backyard, talking about growing veggies and fruit trees, get 1 million subscribers from around the world? For me, gardening is more than just providing food for the family and sustainability, and it's also helps me with my fitness, but my mental health as well. I have PTSD, and I've had it for a long time, and I manage it well, and my family tolerate it, but there are certain, kinks that you have when you've been through certain things. And I'm by far not the only one out there. There's something about gardening and getting out into nature that helps us, and I think humans inherently need it. And I would recommend it to anyone that's battling any type of mental illness or PTSD to maybe take on gardening and just see how it goes for you, and you'll be much happier for it. As far as self-sufficiency goes, the veggie side was definitely my grandfather's influence. I was always with him. I never had a real dad, so he was almost my surrogate father. And so I would wander around and help him tend his strawberries, and I loved all that. He grew veggies until he was 90, and he still tended his veggie patch until he could no longer. And then just before he passed away, I still asked him how to grow potatoes. And I'll never forget his advice. He said, don't overwater them. He was a good man. Oh yeah, this is Herb and Isabel Brigham, my grandparents. She's a very kind woman. He was a sniper in the Australian Army. Heart of gold, very mild-mannered. Didn't need to say much because he taught just by doing. It happened to me 1 million times out there, my hose busting off and the water spraying and hitting me in the forehead or going everywhere, and I was over that. When you're using hoses all the time, this is quite a big issue for a gardener. And that's where I thought, well, I'll grab hold of Hoselink and I'll give their hoses a go. And I just love the ease of the connections, but more than that, I love the story behind the company. And I love how it was a little bit like me, sort of grown from the ground up. And that appeals to me. And so I just like using good products. That's the most important thing. But also small businesses. I know they're trying their best. I know their heart's in it. And that's important to me. The vision that I had was to produce this food forest and this huge veggie garden, and to be supporting my family, actually visualising it and then creating it and making it happen. It's a great metaphor, I think, for life. Just picture one garden bed with soil in it, and you just make a couple of rows, you sprinkle some seeds, and in a couple of weeks it's a thriving bed full of flowers, or it's full of vegetables, it's full of life. And that has been my journey. It started with nothing, and when it grows and you see what it is now, it is very satisfying.